The purpose of this video is to introduce you to what we will be trying to achieve during the last quarter of the semester, and also specifically on our first problem to give you some guidance on using some basic database features in Excel. By the way, congratulations on finishing the model building module. The end of the semester is now in sight. I want to commend you on having made it this far. Online classes are tough with all the different time issues and pressures that online students have. You have shown that you are self-disciplined and a motivated student, so good for you. At this point, you've become an experienced Excel user. And to be honest with you, I'm tired of working out of the two books, and I imagine that you are also. I'm excited to be able to bring some new things to you that I believe will help you in future classes, and more importantly, even in your own financial lives. So welcome to the instructor problems part of the class. You will still be graded on the same scale as the model building problems. So once again, make certain that you have read any and all grading feedback from previous submissions so that you will continue to improve your work over the course of the semester and not repeat any previous mistakes that I noted in the comments. The first thing I wanted to give you some exposure to are very basic database sorting techniques. What we will do together is just the tip of the iceberg. There are entire semester-length courses on creating and manipulating databases. This short problem will give you a preview of some basic sorting techniques that will be useful to you. The Access program is a great database application. However, let's face it, that program is way more complicated. There are many times in a typical business situation when it would be nice to have some of the capabilities of a database without all the hassles, and this is where Excel comes in really handy. To use an Excel workbook as a database, your data needs to be structured in a list format. In general, an Excel list consists of columns and rows of data structured in a specific way. First, each column contains the same category of data in every row, similar to a field in Excel. And each row on the list should contain all the fields of data for one entity, be it a person, or an object, or in our case, an invoice. Also, there should be no blank rows in the list. So to get started, let's download a file that we can use. You will find it on my website. So from your TalentNet website, scroll all the way down to Module 2, and we're looking for the database problem. It's going to be way down here after the model building problems. Okay, so the file that we need is right here. So you should right-click it, and you should save it to your flash drive. So choose Save Target As, or you can save it to your hard drive on your computer. Choose where you would like to save it. I'll choose my Documents file, and press Save. You can choose a folder if you want. You'll see my various folders. I'm sure they're different from yours, but save it to wherever you would like. And then once you do that, get out of the internet and get into Excel and open up the file. So you should have your Excel file open. We will go through a variety of sorts. Data can be sorted alphabetically or numerically, either by using the Quick Sort button or the sort commands on the standard toolbar. Sorts can be in ascending order, which means 1, 2, 3, or A, B, C, or in descending order, which means 3, 2, 1, or Z, Y, X. So let's get started. The first sort that we will do is by invoice number in an attempt to organize the invoices in a logical order. So in our database file, the first thing that we should do is we should highlight the range of data to be sorted. First, I'd like you to notice that our file has 5 fields of data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in addition, our file has probably about 50 or so rows of data. So let's assume that the clerk working for the disorganized house of computers recorded invoices when received without regard to the invoice number. As a result, you'll notice that the invoice numbers are all out of order. So the first step we want to do is specify the range to be sorted. I'm going to include the title line because that will make my sort easier. And so we need to select all the data from the top of the sort down to the bottom of the sort. So step number 1 in a database problem is to highlight the data area that you want to be sorted. Once I've highlighted that information, I can come up to the sort key or the sort icon. Now, depending on which version of Excel that you're using, it may look a little bit different. I'm going to click on the sort button, and up pops a box asking me how I'd like to sort the data. Since we highlighted the header row that had the names of the different fields, you can click this box if it's not already clicked. That makes these sort options much more meaningful to you. If I left that header row off, let me show you what would happen. I'll unclick it, and then all of a sudden it's asking me if I want to sort by columns, which is much harder to read. So I'm going to put that little box back on, and since our first sort is going to be by invoice number, I'm going to click that field, and here it can either be smallest to largest or largest to smallest. You decide what you think would be appropriate for a list of numbers. Usually we would go smallest to largest. Press OK, and within a second, Excel did exactly what you told it to do. It sorted the invoice numbers from the lowest to the highest. That's what we call ascending order. As we do these sorts, do not copy over the old file. You'll save each unique sort with a unique file name. So right now, take a minute and put your name on the document, and I believe on this item, I believe I told you to save it as invoice. You can go double check the handout. Okay, so save your work, and then we'll talk about some sorts that are a little bit more difficult. It's important that you ensure that your sorts are complete. In other words, that none of the data has fallen off, possibly by you not highlighting the columns correctly. One way to check completeness is to put a total on each sort that you do. So someplace down here, it would be appropriate to total up the sales column. That number should stay consistent throughout our sorts. So go ahead and sum that up. There's various ways you can do it. I'm going to sum up from the first cell to the last cell, and that will be my completeness check as I do the various sorts. So I want to go down to D58. There's my total. This will act as a completeness check. So in every sort that we do, I should see a You will be carrying out the various sorts as directed. I would like to help you with the last one, which is probably the most difficult. So let's jump down to number 6 on your handout. Requirement number 6 reads, the payroll department wants you to prepare a commission report for all the salespeople. Sort the fields by salesperson in ascending order. Use the invoice amount as a second sort in descending order. So what that means is when the computer looks at the salesperson column or field, you'll notice that there are several different salespeople. For example, if you look at JC, here's 3 invoices for the same person. So the computer will put all the JCs together, but it won't know how to break the tie. And so to do that, we're going to set a secondary sort. And the secondary sort that we're going to set is going to be the invoice amount. And it will jump to the invoice amount, and then we'll sort it in a descending order, which means from highest to lowest. We didn't have to do that in the first sort because each invoice number was unique. So it wasn't necessary to break any ties, so to speak, or to set a secondary sort. So that's going to change. So let's do the sort first, and then we'll talk about how to compute the commission. So step one again is to highlight the data from corner to corner. So we call that selecting the range. That's our first step. Go ahead and include the header row. Go to your sort box, and we included the header row, so our first sort is going to be by salesperson, and we wanted that in value order from A to Z. That's fine. Remember, the computer is going to encounter lots of ties in the salesperson field. So we need to add a secondary sort. Sorry, somebody came to my door. So we need to add a secondary sort. So we will add a level, and that's where we want the computer to break the tie. So we're going to jump to the invoice amount, and on that one we want to go from largest to smallest. So watch what happens. In less than a second, the computer did exactly what we told it to do. In other words, it put all the BEs together, and to break the tie, it jumped to the invoice amount, and it went from highest to lowest. Or even better, here's DS. There's lots of DS's. So to break the tie, the computer jumped to the invoice amount and put it from largest to smallest, just like we told it to do. So now let's read how the commission will be recorded. Once again, it says the salespeople receive a 4% commission on total sales over a $400 base. That means that you should take the total amounts sold for each salesperson, deduct $400 from the amount, and then compute the commission at a rate of 4%. So we need to adjust the template as needed to determine the total sales for each salesperson, and then we'll calculate the amount of commission earned. So now let's go in and add up the sales by salesperson. One way to do this is to add another column, sales by salesperson, and we're going to sum up the sales for each salesperson. In other words, for BE, they had those two sales. Now I'll go down to DS and sum up the sales for DS, and then I'll go down to JC and do that as well. My computer's slowing down for some reason. Hopefully that'll sum up. Go down to JC, do the same thing for that person, and we will be doing a completeness check at the bottom. Think about how you could determine whether you picked up all the sales or whether you possibly left someone off the list as you were computing them. Can you think about a way where you could check the completeness as I'm doing this? Well, one way to do it would be, after we're finished, to total up and compare the total sales in column D with the sales in column F, and hopefully those amounts are exactly the same. That would ensure that we didn't lose any data in the manipulation process of the database. So once again, right now, all I'm doing is computing the totals for each salesperson. Here comes the moment of truth. When I copy that item over, you'll see that they don't balance, and I did that on purpose. I will have to check and go see where I failed. Okay, so those two add up. The DS's should add up. The JC's, you want to make sure that you captured all of them. The KK's, I want to make sure that I captured all of them. The MF's, you want to make sure I captured all of them, and there's my mistake. So I'll go back in and capture all of them, not just the first one. And now I can go check my total, and I got them correct, so I know that my data is complete. So now that we know that our data is complete, we're ready to actually calculate the commission. So let me get in here and we're going to do it based on the directions in your handout. We are going to calculate a commission out here, and basically what the directions said is that if they sold more than $400, then they're entitled to commission to the amount over $400 at the rate of 4%. So I'm going to do an equals if statement to see if this cell is greater than the base of 400. So there's the condition to be tested. If that's true, then I want the computer to calculate the commission by taking the total sales less the 400 and multiplying that by the 4% rate. And then if it's false, their commission will be 0, because that would mean that they hadn't earned the $400, and so they would not be entitled to the commission according to the rules of this problem. So here's my calculation. It looks like that column is calculated as a percentage. So let me change that to a normal dollar format. And the commission is $179.90. You could recalculate that on your calculator to make sure that it's working correctly. And once you have that formula, you can copy and paste that down. So here's my copy command, and I'm going to paste it here and here and all the way down. Copy it there, here, here, and here, and voila, I have my commission. There's another check figure for you. Your commission should be $1,976.39. Now, of course, I need to clean this template up. I need to make these two columns look like these other columns by maybe placing some type of a border on it so they look to be consistent. So let me choose that border and use the format painter to paint it over here. And again, I have some cleanup work to do. Let me hit the undo there. Try this one more time. I'm going to use the format painter. I like that format, and I want to copy it over to that format. And again, I need to recenter this title so that my work looks neat and polished. So again, the purpose of this problem was just to demonstrate some quick database features to you. So hopefully you've developed a few database sorting tips to use in your future lives. There are many database functions available in Excel, including queries and something called pivot tables, but these are above the scope of this introductory survey class. You may want to check out the appendix in the back of your book for some direction on these types of database functions. And as always, I look forward to reading your updates, and of course, I'm here to help anyone that needs it. I'm just an email away. Take care.